everyone, Kendall here with SNOWMAN Creations. Today we're going to be crocheting this adorable little snowman. Per usual, I'm taking clips from other videos and stitching them all together to make this wonderful snowman tutorial. Usually it's the body that follows a different tutorial, so you might hear me say things like bird or bee, but go ahead and continue to make the body in white. And then I do all the additional details just specific for the snowman. This is a beginner-friendly pattern. The supplies you're going to need are white, blue, black, brown, orange, 8mm safety eyes, stuffing, stitch markers, scissors, and a 5mm crochet hook. 5mm. If you want these exact colors, I have a crochet kit that comes with all the supplies you need to learn how to crochet, including the written pattern with lots of pictures, and it's a full PDF that literally covers everything. I also recommend the Magic Ring Guide, which is a tool to help you make the magic ring. I have a link down below. If you've been struggling with the magic ring, highly recommend checking that out. It just makes the whole process of making your own figurine so much easier. All right, let's jump right into the video. I'm going to take my crochet hook. I have my yarn. This is our tail, our dead end, the end of your yarn. This is the yarn that's attached to the ball or the skein. You're going to take it and wrap it around your hand to form an X. You're going to hold it in the middle. Hook goes under, then over, and we're going to scoop this underneath. Just like that. We're going to twist it up and pull it off our hands. And then do this thing called a chain, which is when we pull our yarn through our loop. So I'm going to put the yarn on the crochet hook and pull through. And that's our magic ring. But let me show you again. I have my tail, wrap around to make an X, hold in the middle, under, over, pull through, twist up, and then do our chain. We're then going to make 6 single crochets in this loop. Our single crochets are one of the smallest, most basic stitches of crochet. You'll find it in tons of the stuffed animal or amigurumi patterns. Crocheters love single crochets. To do one, you're going to insert your hook in the middle of the loop, yarn over, which is when we place the yarn on top of the hook, pull through. So we have 2 loops on your hook, yarn over again, and then pull through both loops. And that's 1 single crochet. So again, I'm going to go through the middle, yarn over, pull through, yarn over, pull through both loops, and that's a second. Through the middle, yarn over, pull through, yarn over, pull through both. That was stitch 3. So I'm going to do 4, 5, and 6. Each stitch is this little V, little oval. Can't see it too well on the sides. If I pull it apart a little bit, you can see that's a stitch. I'm going to take my tail and pull it so that it actually forms this cute little ring. And now we have the start of our crochet piece. These are our stitch markers, which are like little clothespin, safety pin looking things. Safety pins, not clothespins. Looking things. We're going to attach it into the last stitch that we made, that V. Close it up. This is going to help us find the beginning and the end when we're working in our rounds.
because we're going to be working in a spiral, so we're just going to keep on going around and around and around. So this will make sure we know the beginning and the end of each round. Our magic ring with the 6 single crochets, that was 1 round. So now we're going on to round 2, which according to our pattern says increase 6 times. An increase is just 2 single crochets next to each other. So we have 6 stitches. At the end of round 2, we should have 12. So we're going to put 2 stitches in each of the 6, so that we have 12. So we're just doubling it. I'm going to insert my hook into the first stitch that we made. The first one's always a little tight. It's not you, it's the crochet piece. Just kind of wiggle, stick it in. I'm going to yarn over and pull through. Yarn over, pull through again. So I have 1 single crochet. Before we move on, I'm going to stick my crochet hook in the same stitch and do another single crochet. So now we have 2 in 1 stitch. I like to picture it like a little flower, so we have like a small beginning, but then we want even petals on the side, so it kind of gets bigger evenly. I'm going to move to the next stitch. Again, I'm working in a spiral, so I'm literally just scooting over and do another increase. So that's 1 single crochet, and then in the same hole, doing a second. And then I'll do that again. And again. Moving over. I'm in my last one, and this is my cat Cashew. He likes to help with videos sometimes. I'm sure his sister Peanut's gonna help too. I'm gonna take out my stitch marker. I'm gonna do our increase. And then I'm going to put the stitch marker back in to the new end of the round. So we're kind of moving it up each time. And now we have this small little circle, which is round 1 and round 2. You should have 12 single crochets at the end of this round. And you can count them by looking at those V's. Grab my tapestry needle. So like that's 1, 2, 3, 4. You can do this all the way around, so you have 12. The next round, round 3, it says we're going to do a single crochet and then an increase. And there's a comma in that bracket, which is important. So in the next stitch, we're going to do 1 single crochet. And then we're done with that. In the next stitch, that comma means we're moving over. We're going to be doing an increase, which is again those 2 single crochets. So this repetition for the round is a little series of 3. 1 and then an increase. Or in my head sometimes I'll say double. So 1 and then a double. And we're going to repeat this. So the next stitch we're going to do 1. And then the next stitch a double or an increase. And we're going to do this for the whole round. So 1 and then a double. One, then a double. And I know I'm crocheting fast. Hey, I've done it since I was 14 years old. Don't forget, 1, pause this video. I will still be here for you. As well as that in the corner, the little gears button, you can change the speed. So yeah, I'll sound a little funny, but you can watch me slow down these stitches and it might be a little easier. You can see at the end, I removed my stitch marker, did my last increase, and then I'm going to put it back. And our circle's getting a little rounder, a little bigger. You can tell it kind of curls up a little bit. That's okay. That's normal. No biggie. If it's curling up a lot, you might have messed up the pattern a little bit. You might have put too many increases. So you might want to take it out and kind of make sure you're counting. At the end of this row, you should have 18. Another thing to remember, this is our tail from that very beginning magic ring. This is the inside. So if you're looking at it and you're like, mine's kind of ugly. My stitches aren't clean. This tail's in the way. What am I doing? Boop. Just turn it around. If you followed my tutorial for my crochet plants, a lot of people will show me their crocheted pot and they'll be like, hey, mine's ugly and it doesn't sit weird and it sits super weird and it's off. And then I'm like, flip it inside out. Boom. They did amazing work and they did it right. You just gotta flip it around. Next round, you're gonna start seeing a pattern here. It says 2 single crochets and then an increase. So single crochet 2 is different than an increase. So we're gonna do 1, 1, and then an increase. In newer crochet patterns, as in the past 10 years, you'll notice the word increase. Sometimes people use 2 single crochets instead. I find that confusing. If you follow any Lousy Llama crochet patterns, I will always say increase versus single crochet 2. If I'm saying single crochet 2, I mean 1 and then 1 and then an increase. Well, let's not get confusing here. So we're going to do 1, 1, and then an increase. One, 1, and then an increase. And we'll do this for the whole round. One, 1, increase. One, 1, increase. 1, 1, take out the marker, increase. And then put it back in. And now we have a bigger circle. Again, you can see mine curving a little bit. That's okay. Okay, I'm at the end of the round. And now instead of doing more increases, we're going to do rounds of single crochets. So a little tip, instead of putting this through the stitch like we normally do, I'm actually going to put it on the side of the stitch. That way we don't have to move it every single round. This works when we're doing 1 single crochet in every stitch. Not so much when you're doing something precise like 2 single crochets and then an increase, because you want that to be really exact. But for this, it's okay if it's not. We're not going to do any increases. We're going to do 4 rounds of single crochet. So you're literally just going to do 1 single crochet in every single stitch. We'll do this for 4 rounds. But I'll show you when we get around to the stitch marker how we're kind of ignoring it and continuing on. This also works because we're crocheting in a spiral instead of joining for each round. We just continuously keep on working. All right, coming around, I'm not going to move my stitch marker. I'm just continuing to crochet. See? And now I can see I did 1. I'm going to go around 4 times and it kind of lines up with the stitch marker. So go ahead and single crochet for 4 rounds. See, I kind of lined it up with the stitch marker. Now I'm going to take this out and put it back in our stitch because our next round is going to be more precise like we did earlier. The next round is going to be 3 single crochets and then an increase. So similar to the 2 single crochets and then increase, but with 3. So we'll do 1, 2, 3, and then an increase, and we'll repeat that for a total of 6 times all the way around. 1, 2, 3, increase, 2, 3, increase, I also want to take a note here, if my piece looks bigger than yours, I'm using some spare yarn I have, which I believe is a little different than the yarn you have in your kits. This yarn is feeling very stiff today, I'm not exactly sure why. But if you're like, mine's coming out smaller, don't worry, that's completely normal. This is just really stiff today. Okay, coming around the end, taking out our marker, doing the last increase. Yeah, you look so big. My sample was not this big. Now I'm gonna put my stitch marker on the side again, because we're gonna be doing more rounds of single crochet if I can get it. We are gonna do, so you're gonna go around for 10 rounds of single crochet, placing 1 single crochet in every stitch for a total of 10 rounds. Now you can see our piece is starting to actually look like a bird, or at least a blob, which I think birds look like. We're gonna add our eyes. So I'm just gonna set my hook aside just so it's out of the way. I have my 8mm safety eyes and backs. 1, oh my goodness, 2. We're gonna place them between rounds 6 and 7, about 6 stitches apart. And sort of wiggled in, there we go. Now I'm gonna put my backs on. I put my little washers on and click. Washers on and click. Push it back out. Now we gotta finish sewing the body and doing our decreases. So an increase is 2 single crochets in 1 stitch. So if you can imagine, a decrease is combining 2 single crochets into 1. Or 2 any stitches, but for this project it's gonna be single crochets. Move my stitch marker back up because we want to be exact again. We're going to repeat the same thing backwards. So our last round of increases was 3 single crochets increase. Now we're going to do 3 single crochets decrease. So I'm going to do 3 single crochets. 1, 2, 3, and then a decrease. For a decrease, I'm going to insert my hook, yarn over, pull through, kind of like the beginning of a single crochet. Instead of finishing it off, I'm going to insert my hook into the stitch next to it. Yarn over, pull through, so you have 3 loops on your hook. Yarn over, pull through all 3. Because you're combining 2 stitches, you'll want to make sure you pull a little extra tight when you're making it, just because you're literally pulling your crochet piece closer together. And if they're loose, you'll see the stuffing. So I'll do my 3 single crochets again. 1, 2, 3, and then decrease, insert, yarn over, pull through, insert into the next stitch, yarn over, pull through, so you have 3 loops, yarn over, pull through all 3. And you're going to repeat this for the round. So 1, 2, 3, decrease, 1, 2, 3, decrease, 1, 2, 3, decrease, 1, 2, 3, and then our very last decrease. for the round. The next round is going to be 2 single crochets and then a decrease. So 1, 2, decrease, all the way around, pulling nice and tight. 1, 2, decrease, 1, 2, decrease, 1, 2, decrease, 1, 2, decrease, and 1, 2, taking out our marker, decrease. Next round is probably what you would have guessed, 1 single crochet and then a decrease. I know it's getting tight, it's getting stiff, but you are physically pulling your piece together, so hang in there, it's okay. This takes a little bit getting used to. 1 single crochet and then a decrease. Decreases was something that took me a little bit to master as a beginner. They used to be really loose, so you can like see all my stuffing. It takes a lot to like remember to tighten your tension and do things a little differently. That's okay. One of the cool parts about this project is that the decreases are on the bottom. So if your top is pretty, no one's really gonna see the bottom, especially if you have it displayed on like a little shelf or something or on your desk. No one really sees it. Okay. 1 more decrease. Okay, we're gonna pause here for a sec and we're actually gonna stuff our little bird. I have my pouch of stuffing. We're not gonna need all of this. The best stuffing technique is to pull apart into small clumps and place it individually. That way you kind of have control over the shape. And it also uses less stuffing. If you just ball the whole thing up, you'll use all the stuffing, but you actually don't really need it, especially if you want it to remain nice and fluffy. So I'm just gonna keep on pulling small clumps. Obviously placing at the head first, because that's further away. And then the body. I want my bird Blitz to be as round as possible. So I'm going to stuff him extra on the sides. I'm also, you can tell when I'm stuffing, I kind of pull my working yarn away. If you stuff it inside, that's fine. You'll just have to pull it out and that might pull out some of the stuffing. So it's just kind of easier if you pull it around before. Okay, he's getting there. It's looking like a little pill or looks like a peep, really, is what it looks like. Well, we don't got peeps here. He is Blitz the bird, so he's gonna have to look like a bird. I'm shaping him, kind of forming his neck a little bit more. Yeah, I'm really happy with that. Cute. Yeah, see, this is all the extra stuffing. You'll have extra stuffing. On the bottom, we need to do 6 decreases. The bottom is difficult. The last round of decreases is usually difficult. It's hard to see and you might skip some stitches, and that's okay. We're just gonna try to get 6 decreases. If you don't, that is a-okay. And you'll just close it up a different way. So I'm gonna do 1. I kind of pinch mine, even though we worked so hard on the shaping. We'll fix it at the end, because it's easier for me to get my hook into my stitches. So my second decrease out of 6. 3. Oh yeah, it's tight. 4. 5. think that's all I got right now. I don't think I can fit the 6th one because of how tight it is, and that's okay. The hole's still pretty small. I'm gonna fasten off, so cut that nice long tail, pull our loop through, and we're gonna sew up the bottom. So if your bottom's a little gappy, has some spaces in it, no big deal. You can fix it now. Put my tail on my needle, and you can close the bottom however you want. I like doing it the cinch closure way, which means I'm going to go in all the stitches on the outside and pull tight. Just like that, and pull. I'm going to add a knot just so it doesn't come undone. Slide my knot all the way to the end. Boom. Now we don't just want to cut our yarn because it can come undone. We're going to do this thing called hiding our tails. With a 3D object like Blitz, it's super easy. My tail's on my tapestry needle. I'm going to poke right through where our tail is. Make sure a couple inches through and poke out anywhere else. Don't pull too tight, you'll change the shape. And then you can cut this off. So now for it to come undone, it's going to have to come out multiple inches and through the knot and through the fastening off, and that's more unlikely. For the scarf, I'm going to show you a mini example, but with all the same techniques of everything to make your big scarf that will fit perfectly on your snowman. We're going to start with a slip knot. If you did the practice yarn videos for these crochet kits, this will be really easy for you. If you have not, I highly recommend using your practice yarn and learning how to make a basic square before jumping too far in. But I'm going to have my tail in one hand, twist and pull through. Slip knot should come undone very easily when you pull it. But I am twisting and pulling through. This is the end. Here is my skein of yarn. I'm showing you in this orange, but you should be doing it in that beautiful blue that came in your kit. Insert my hook facing towards the skein and pull it tight. And then we're going to chain 51. Now, a chain is simply yarning over and pulling the yarn through, just like that. We hook the yarn on and we pull through. You're going to want to do this 51 times. I'm going to make a tiny example, so I'm not going to quite go 51, but I assure you this is exactly the same technique, whether you do 51 or if you do 20. You'll have a nice long worm of chains. If you have 51, you are going to skip the 51st. So that very last chain you made, ignore it, it's gone, out of our minds. We're going to skip over it and insert our hook into the next stitch and then do a single crochet. We're going to repeat that all the way down the line. I'm just going to insert into the chain. Here's the chain. I'm going to insert. I'm going to do this all the way down the row. The only reason I'm making this smaller is just so I can film it a little quicker. 51 chains gives you that nice long scarf that easily wraps around your snowman, which I will show you after I show you how to make the next row, because I have a finished one off to the side right here. Little video magic, like a cooking show. I put it in the oven, and it pops out with the same project. All right. At the end, remember yours should be a lot longer. We're going to chain one again, which is that yarn over, pull through, and then turn our work. We're then going to single crochet in the stitches. So we're ignoring that chain again, and we're just going to go in the stitches, going through both loops, just like you did when you made the base of your snowman. And you're just going to go all the way down. Again, I know I'm going faster. feel free to pause the video. Make sure you're getting all of those stitches. Make sure you have 51 chains, which equals to 50 single crochets, because we skipped that very last chain, that 51st. So you should have 50 stitches. You can count your stitches just like this. This is 1, 2, 3, all the way down. You should have 50. That was our second row. You're going to chain 1 and turn and do this again for the last row. So you'll have a total of 3 rows. And you just work all the way down until you get something that looks like this. Our nice, long, beautiful scarf. You'll want to cut off a tail, leaving us some wiggle room to work with. Fasten off by pulling that loop all the way through. And we have to weave in these strings. It's really easy with that 3D object like the body, a little harder with something flat, just because we don't really have a lot of room to hide it, but that's okay. You're going to put one of the tails on the tapestry needle. You're going to pinch the scarf between your fingers and shove your needle, moving back and forth down the stitches. I'm going to do that in 3 different directions. So I went down, let me go up, and we'll go down again, kind of at an angle. And then you can cut your yarn. Now for it to come undone, it'd have to go in 3 different directions and then through your original knots that you made. Seems more unlikely. If you just cut it off, it's certainly going to come apart. So you have to make sure to weave in your ends. And I'm going to repeat that with the other side. It's the biggest skill I think all beginner crocheters should learn, is how to properly weave something in. If you don't learn this skill, your pieces will not stay finished and they will come undone. So all your beautiful hard work will be going to waste. Please take the time to learn how to do this. If you need to watch another video and see a different method of how to do it, please do that. You have to learn how to weave in your pieces. And now we got this cutie patootie little scarf. For the hat, I am going to show you in this orange yarn again, because I do have my version made in black, but it is very hard to see black yarn on camera. So I am going to be doing it in this orange, but you'll want to do in the black. Just make sure you turn up the lights in your house. You're not working in the dark. Bring an extra lamp in, whatever you need, and be patient with yourself. Black yarn can be a little tricky. Start the hat. We're going to start the exact same way we started the body, with that magic ring, chain 1, and 6 single crochets. 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6. Pull it tight. Continuing just like the body, we're going to do 6 increases. And remember that increase is just 2 single crochets in 1 stitch, so that our 6 single crochets become 12. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, and 12. Add our stitch marker, and the next round, just like the body, is going to be 1 single crochet and then an increase. So you're going to do 1 single crochet, and then in the next stitch do an increase. And do that for the whole round of 1, and then an increase. 1, and then an increase. My last one, taking out my marker, doing my increase, and then putting our marker back in. This is when things are going to get a little different than our body. We are going to do something called single crocheting in the back loop only. Normally when you crochet, you go through both loops. But for the back loop, you're just going to go in that back one. But you're going to do it in the same direction. So normally it's front to back. It's still front to back, just in the back loop. And you're going to do the single crochet there. So again, just the back loop, single crochet, just the back loop. We love the back loop here. Okay, taking out my marker, doing in the back loop one more time. I'm going to put my marker in, but because we're going to be doing those rounds, I'm going to put it in the side and do 4 single crochet rounds, going through both loops again. So you just make your single crochets just like you did for your body for a total of 4 rounds. You're totally used to this because the body was the exact same way. So go ahead and pause the video and do the 4 rounds. So I finished the 4 rounds. I'm going to add my stitch marker back to the top. We now have 1 more round, and it's going to be a little different than we've done. Instead of going in the back loop or through both loops, we're going to go through the front loop. And again, with the front loop, you are inserting front to back just like normal. But instead of single crochets, we're going to do a half double crochet, which is a little taller than a single crochet. To do that, you're going to yarn over and insert. Remember, just the front loop. Yarn over, pull through. So you have 3 loops on your hook. Yarn over, pull through all 3. Again, yarn over, insert in the front loop only. Yarn over, pull through. So you have 3. Yarn over, pull through all 3. We're going to do this for the round. This is the brim of our hat, so it kind of sticks out a little bit. It'll be like a little different texture. My little middle tail I'm going to shove inside, or you can trim, just don't trim it too close, leave about 1 inch if you're going to cut it, if it's getting in your way. Alright, coming on my last one, I'm going to take out my marker and do my very last one. To make our edges line up a little better, we're going to do a slip stitch through both loops, excuse me. So in the next stitch, insert your hook, yarn over, pull through, and pull through again. And we'll do it one more time in the next stitch, yarn over, pull through, pull through, and leave a nice long tail. Fasten off. Now you do have the option of sewing your little hat brim if you don't like the way it's moving. I just personally roll it up, and that seems to work well for me.
you can take your blue yarn, cut a little piece, and tie a little bow on it if you want. That's what I did. I think it looks really cute when you do that. Adds a little bit more color. And then you gotta trim it, of course. Just make my loops smaller. There we go. Stop, that's so cute. Okay, I have this little guy. I prefer to sew mine to the head of my snowman. You don't have to if you just want to set it on top. Kind of depends what you're doing with it. But if you do want to stitch it, I use the hat color, the hat yarn tail, and I stitch to the body, to the hat, and I just do it a few times. With it being orange, it looks like a little sun hat right now, like a little gardening hat. I'll do one in the front. And then I'm gonna hide the tail inside the hat. Like that. Cutie. To do the nose, I have my piece of orange yarn. And put on my tapestry needle. Poking from the back, I'm going to decide where I want my nose. I think right between the eyes would be a good idea. Pull my yarn through. Not all the way, because you don't want it to come undone, of course. And then just stitch your little nose. I went through a couple different variations of how to do the nose and make it look the most snowman-like, and I just decided embroidering it like this gave the best results. But if you want to crochet a piece or stitch it some other way, you can totally do that. This is your snowman. But I like it just like this. So I'll poke out the orange on the back side. Cut my yarn and poke it through so it hides inside the body. Like that. I'm going to do that same thing with a little piece of black yarn for the smile. Poking from the back. Again, I did a lot of different smiles to figure out the best one, and this is just what I decided. I always say my embroidery is like drawing, so I just like to imagine myself drawing, and that kind of helps me get my little smile and picture across. I'll do the same thing. Cut and shove. And the exact same thing with the brown for the arms. Cut off a piece. Keep on separating my strands today, and I'm not quite sure why. Well, that's okay. I have plenty of brown yarn. I'm gonna do the arms. Snowmen have stick arms in my brain, and like little fingers of like all the little branches and twigs. So I'm gonna do a long piece and then 3 smaller pieces. I'm gonna go over the arm again so it's nice and thick. And we'll repeat the exact same thing on the other side. You could put his scarf on. If you don't like the way this kind of comes up and covers him, you can stitch a little bit of blue through the body. Just like you've been doing with the embroidery, just do it with blue and kind of hold the scarf in place. And that's how you're going to make the snowman. Thank you so much for joining me today as we made Shivers the Snowman. I hope you had a lovely time making him. Thank you so much for following along. If you liked this video, if you could please give it a like and a subscribe button. It really helps me grow the channel and continue to provide crochet tutorials for everyone. If you want to stay up to date on everything Lousy Llama, I would check us out on TikTok at Lousy Llama Creations. That's where I post new kits and projects and designs and everything in between. Again, my name is Kendall. Thank you so much for joining me, and I'll see you in the next video. Bye!